Hi friends, I'm Amy. I am the Globetrotting Stitcher. Welcome back for episode 43. Thanks so much to those of you who are joining us today. A special welcome to our returning viewers and subscribers. Thank you so much to all of you that come back and spend time with us week after week. And then also a special welcome to all of our new subscribers. We've had a pretty big jump in subscribers over the last couple of weeks, and a lot of folks finding us through the YouTube algorithm. So thanks for taking the time to check out what we're doing here. I'm so glad that so many of you enjoyed it and want to stick around. So welcome to you. And yeah, we hope you continue to enjoy what we're doing here. So I'm going to do a quick life update on a couple of things, and then we'll get right into all the stitching. So we've been talking a lot lately about how with spring being in full swing here in the Pacific Northwest, there's a lot of outdoor work and yard work and gardening that's happening at our place. So over the last couple of weeks, I put in my very first drip irrigation system into a couple of flower beds. I got a little bit more to finish up, but it felt like for me a huge victory because in our household, Gary is the one who's mechanically inclined. I am not. And so for me to have been able to install that and actually turn it on and see that it was working was it felt like a big victory, and it's been pretty exciting for me. The other thing that I did over the last couple of weeks is I installed a paver border around one of our new flower beds, which was also a big victory because, again, that's just not typically my kind of project or what I would do. So, but I'm really enjoying how things are cleaning up and how pretty things are starting to look. There's never an end to yard work at our place, but it's been fun to kind of do some new things and make things look nice out there. Let's see, as far as Bear and Sophie, they're both doing pretty well. But I think I might have mentioned in our last video that we're having some issues. And so we have got a vet visit coming up for each of the dogs this coming week. So those of you who have been with our channel since the beginning may remember that Bear had a pretty major surgery a couple of years ago. And at the time, the vet warned us that the problem that he had tended to be more of a problem for his breed, and that although they would be able to correct it in the one leg, there was a pretty good possibility that the other leg would eventually go bad. And so what we've been seeing, some chronic limping, and we'll find out hopefully this week if what we are concerned about is true, but it looks like maybe the other leg is starting to develop the problem the vet had warned us about. So fingers crossed that's not the case, but he's going in to see the vet tomorrow, and then Sophie's going in later the week because she's been limping on a different leg. So they're keeping us busy, but it is what it is. Sophie also has a birthday coming up, so she'll be turning 6 in the next couple of weeks, and so we'll have to do something fun to celebrate that. I think the only other kind of news here is that we are really gearing up for StitchCon. It is coming up really quick now. I think this will probably be the last update that we post before we leave for StitchCon. We might get another one up, but I doubt it. So we are very much looking forward to heading to Cincinnati and hanging out with a bunch of other stitchers. Gary and I are both going to be there. And I think it's just going to be a blast to get together with so many other people, do some shopping. So Gary's son is going to come and stay with Bear and Sophie, which is going to be a real treat for them. They love their big brother, and so I think it'll be great for us to get away and not worry about them and know that they're going to be well taken care of. But if you're going to StitchCon, please do search us out. We'd love to meet you, love to put faces to names from the folks that are our regular viewers, and so very much looking forward to that. So with that having been said, let us get into the stitching. So we're going to start off. I have a couple of finishes to share with you. I've been a finishing machine lately, and I think it's not any kind of a signal of me being anything special or doing anything special. I just had a couple of big projects that ended up getting finished right around the same time. And then of course smalls, those are fairly regular finishes. So the first one I'm going to show you is my travel piece. I have been working on Seasons Summer by Leela's Studio, stitching on a piece of 32 count vintage Sahara linen. And the last time you saw this, it was getting pretty close to a finish, so we knew it was coming soon. And so I had, I think, stitched most of the bottom border. I'd stitched quite a bit of the word summer, had stitched most of the flowers in the bouquet and the kind of the central design, and had done quite a bit on the second of the two birds. So this is how it is all done up. So I have not had time to iron this or wash it, so I'm sorry for that. It looks a little bit dodgy right now, but it will clean up, I promise. But this is how it turned out. I really like it. I think it's nice and summery. It's nice and bright. I had told you that because my fabric, the white colors did not, or the white floss wasn't showing up on my fabric, I did convert all of the white flowers and make them yellow. And so I was a little concerned about it being overly yellow, but I think the other changes that I made to compensate for that have worked well, and it's got a nice color balance. So I've been digging into my fabric stash to pick some nice finishing fabrics. I will be turning this into a pillow, so hopefully you will see that finished soon, because with summer quickly approaching, I am eager to have this done and ready for display. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. I think it's very pretty, and it was this one was really fun to stitch on. So there we go. All right, the next finish I have to show you is my seasonal piece. So many of you know I have been working on Harvest Delivery by Plum Street Samplers, stitching on a piece of 36 count bee's knees linen by Seraphim, which has been absolutely a dream to stitch on. And the last time you saw this design, we knew it was getting close to a finish. I was probably a little over 50% done. I was almost finished with the whole left-hand side of the design. Left. I think it's the left-hand side. Anyway, I had stitched most of the little black cart. I had stitched most of the botanical elements and flowers that are in that cart and the pumpkins. And so, although there was quite a bit of stitching to finish over the last couple of weeks, it was a lot of, not a lot of color changes and a lot of solid. And so it was a lot of fill-in. And so this is how it turned out. Again, I love this. I am finding that I really enjoy stitching Plum Street Sampler designs. They're just such comfort stitching. And so this one was no different. Let's see here. We've always got a little contribution from Bear and Sophie in these. But I really love how it turned out. I think it's beautiful. Again, I haven't had time to do any washing or ironing. But I've started looking at some frames for finishing this. And I'm really looking forward to having this as part of our autumn display in a couple of months. But I really love this. I think it just turned out fantastic. I love the way all the floss and the colors are popping on that fabric. And so yeah, this was a really fun one to stitch. All right. The next piece that's everything for finishes. We'll go ahead and show you the whips that we've been working on in the last couple of weeks. And the first one I will show you is my weekend stitching. I am working on Butterfly Port Mauve by Heaven and Earth Designs. And this one I am stitching on a 28 count white easy grid Lugana 2/1 using the half stitch. And as I've explained before on this design, it's a little bit hard to explain progress from one video to the next, simply because it's a heavy background piece. There's no differentiating elements. It's just a lot of color changing at this point. And I'm also quite early in the process of working on it. So what I can say is the last time you saw this, I had stitched about 2,500 stitches total. And I've put in close to 1,000 stitches then, so I think we're around 3,400 and change. So this is what it looks like right now. So as you can see, I'm continuing to work my way. I've worked my way all the way across the top of page 1, and I'm continuing to work my way down with filling in that page. I think one of the things that I am going to do, that I think I will do in stitching this, typically on my full coverage, I stitch top to bottom, left to right and top to bottom. And with this one, I think what I'm going to actually do to try and bring in some of the actual elements of the design, because the whole top would just be background stitching. And while I don't mind doing background stitching, it's not very exciting for all of you. And so I think what I'm going to do is when I finish page 1, I'm going to move down and work my way down the left-hand side of the design, because then I'll start picking up some of the actual visual elements that are not background, and then kind of work my way like that. So we'll get a bit of background, but also get a bit of the actual focal pieces in the design, and do that over time. So that's kind of how I'm thinking I might stitch this, but we won't be getting to page 2 anytime soon, so don't hold your breath. But anyway, this one I really do enjoy working on, and I'm happy with how it's coming along. Okay, the next WIP we have to show you is Gary's. Gary is working on Captain America by Awesome Pattern Studio. He is stitching this on a piece of 16 count pewter Aida using the called for DMC. So I'm going to hand it over to Gary so he can tell you about what he's been working on and how this thing is going.
Well, it's going. The last time you saw it, we were just getting past a mistake, and I did a little bit of work, but I've done an awful lot of work since then. If you look at it, now, you can see I filled out a good amount of the top part of the shield, and a little bit of the bottom. I'm actually almost done with page 2, and there are only 4 pages to this. So once I finish that page, I can go on, obviously, to page 3 or 4, whichever I want, I guess. But yeah, this. If you're new to cross stitching, this one isn't for you. But if you aren't new to cross stitching and you enjoy somewhat of a challenge, this one's good for you, because there's literally colors in there that only take up like one square. It's a different color, and you'll never know it's there until you stare at it. But it's there anyway. So what's probably going to happen though is, because I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I'm going to finish it, but I don't know that I want to finish it right now. So I think I'm going to do page 2 and start on something else. I don't know what else, but we'll see how it goes. It's a toss up between these really cool design, like Ukrainian ones we got, and then another one that I got that's a laundry tag. I'll leave it there. It's a pretty interesting laundry tag, but I'll leave it there, and maybe you'll see that one. I don't know, but that's where I am on Captain America. It will get finished. Maybe sometime 2025, 27, don't know. But I'm going to nose to the grindstone on that bad boy. Anyway, so yeah, that's where I am. And the globe is exactly where it was the last time you saw it. So there's no sense in showing you any pictures. But thank you. Now we're done here.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, one last WIP to show you for me. Let's see. Here we go. So I have been working on my other main full coverage piece, which is Rose Trellis In by Heaven and Earth Designs. I'm stitching this on 28 count white Lugana, 2/1, using the half stitch. And on this piece, the last time you saw it, I was working my way. So in the roof line, there are 2 windows, and I had stitched the first of those 2 windows, and I was working my way across the second of those 2 windows, which is on the right. I was also working on the next level down from that. There's like a porch or a veranda that's kind of on the second level of the house, and there's 2 windows and some evergreens and bouquets and all of that. And so I had almost finished stitching in the first of the evergreens and the bouquet or the flowers, but underneath that, and was working my way through the first of those windows. So this is where I am right now. I'm sorry, I should have pulled these parked threads back a little bit so it's easier to see. But what you can see is I'm almost finished. So this second window here in the roof line, I'm almost finished stitching that. I just have a little bit left to stitch of this kind of windowsill trim here at the bottom of the window, and then that window will be finished. I've put in a couple more of these little cornices, and then filled in quite a bit of the siding here, filled in quite a bit of this window. There's just a little corner here left to finish. You can start to see the second of the two evergreen trees showing up here now, and then you can also see now the curved outline of the second window. So for sure coming along, and I've been really enjoying working on this week. It hasn't been a huge progress, but every little bit makes a difference. And yeah, so I'm really, really enjoying this. I'm also continuing to inch ever closer to the 50% mark. So as of right now, I'm at 47% and a little extra. So it'll probably be another couple of rotations before I actually hit 50%, but that's okay. I'm really enjoying this, and I love this design. So that's where I am on Rose Trellis In. Okay. Last thing I have to show you is I got to have a new start. So because I did finish the design, because I did finish Seasons Summer in my travel category, I was able to do a new start in that category of my rotation. And I had planned to actually start stitching on Seasons Winter by Leela's Studio. That's the final design in that series that I have not yet stitched. I've done all the others. And so I was planning to start that one. But what I realized when I pulled it out was that I had been planning to do a color conversion on the birds, and I hadn't figured out my flosses. And I started that process and then realized I need to order some flosses. So I did that, and the flosses arrived, and then I went to pick a fabric and realized that I didn't have the fabric that I wanted. So I had to order a fabric, and that is on its way. In the meantime, I did not want to wait to start a new travel piece. And so I moved some things around, and I pulled something out of my stash that I was wanting to stitch in the travel category. And so that is these Christmas Cheer Pin Pillows by Jeanette Douglas Designs.
Keep going.
We have a protester.
All right, there. Come on.
Sorry for the barking. So this is a relatively new release. It was released in the last year, and this was an exclusive through Evertotes in Canada. And when I saw this, when this first came out, I immediately fell in love. It was like, I have to have this. I have to have this right now, because there are 6 different designs in the chart, and it's very much sort of a classic vintage Christmas feel. These just instantly took me back to childhood Christmas. And so I really wanted to have them stitched. And so, so I decided to start these. So I've started on the Joy Pin Pillow. I'm using the called for flosses, and I'm stitching with Leo and Roxy Floss, which is the first time I've worked with them. So they've been great so far. Well, what I've done very little, but what I've done so far, I've enjoyed working on the Leo and Roxy Floss. So let me show you how this looks. I am stitching on a piece of 36 count Stars Hollow Blend linen by R&R Reproductions. And this is my impressive start. So as you can see, I have maybe 25 stitches at best in this.
There's more loose thread on there.
Hey. No comments from the peanut gallery. We have a tiny start, but an inspirational start nonetheless. At any rate, I think I'm really going to enjoy working on this, and looking forward to having these pin pillows. I think because they're so small as well, they would make really fun little ornaments or gifts for friends or for exchanges and things like that. But I am really looking forward to working my way through these, and loving it so far. Okay, that is it for Stitchy stuff. So I wanted to take a few minutes and answer some questions that have come in on recent videos. We've had quite a few, and so I wanted to make sure I responded to those. So the first one came from Gail, and she said, do you have any problems taking scissors on the plane to do your travel stitching? So what I will tell you, Gail, is no, I haven't had any problems, and that's probably because I've never tried. Now, I know in the United States, the restrictions have relaxed over the years enough that you can take, there's a length of blade that as long as your scissor blades are below a certain length, you can take them, or if you've got a rounded edge, they don't have a problem with those. I don't tend to fly a lot in the United States. Usually when I travel, my work takes me on international trips. And so I've never tried taking scissors because different countries have different requirements and restrictions. I will say when I was coming back from London on my last trip, I did see a notice at the airport indicating that scissors below a certain, like the blades, if they were shorter than a certain centimeter length, I could have taken those. So I'll remember that the next time I go to London. But I usually, unless I know for sure that scissors are allowed at a particular airport I'm passing through, I've just defaulted to something really basic like nail clippers, because nail clippers, that's not something that they will take away from you anywhere. You're fine with that. And so I've never had problems, but that's probably because I've never tried. And I just don't want to risk losing a pair of stitching scissors, even if they're a really inexpensive pair. Let's see. The next question is from Cheryl. And Cheryl said, where do you find your conversions on the Celtic Ladies? They are gorgeous. Thank you, Cheryl. I can take no credit for those. There's a couple different places. So for Celtic Autumn, I used the Janet Granger conversion. That's the orange and green and gold. That conversion is available on Janet Granger's blog. So when I talk about Celtic Autumn, I always include a link in the description box to her blog to that conversion, so you can find it there. I will include it with this video as well. But there's a really fantastic Facebook group that I have found to be a great resource, and that group is called L&L Celtic Ladies Conversion. I'll include a link in the description box for that as well. It is a private group, but as long as you answer the questions that they have if you want to join, they're great about letting you join. And then there's a whole files section, and there are tons of files in there with different conversions for all the different Celtic Lady charts. And people are great about sharing what they're working on and answering questions. And so I've found it to be a really inspirational and creative site to go to for the Celtic Ladies. Next question is from Susan, and she said, did you make up the fall bouquet of leaves in her hand, or was that part of the conversion? And so she's talking also about my Celtic Autumn, and I departed from the original chart and had the woman holding a bouquet of leaves with like some falling stuff. I wish I had the creativity to make that up, but I did not. And Susan, I actually did find that chart, that conversion on the L&L Celtic Lady Conversions Facebook page I talked about. So the person who designed that, her name is E.M. Chisholm, and it's called Autumn Witchy Twig and Leaves. So it's available in the files, and so I would encourage you to join that Facebook group, and then you can get it right there. Those leaves are stitched 1/1, so just be aware of that if it's something that you want to stitch. If you don't like doing 1/1, or you have a hard time with 1/1 for whatever the reason, just be aware that may be one challenging piece to that. Next question is from Chrissy. She said, I'm curious regarding the heavy confetti. How do you travel from one to the next that is the same color? So Chrissy, I think this is true for most people who stitch full coverage, that it is not possible or reasonable to not carry. So if I'm stitching something other than full coverage, I very seldom carry, but on full coverage, I carry with abandon. I probably carry farther than I should sometimes. There's just no way to keep the back tidy and neat. And so usually I work from left to right, top to bottom. A lot of times I work roughly in diagonals. And so I will just move to whatever the next closest stitch is. And if that means I carry, then it means I carry, because it's going to get covered up and the back is going to look like a disaster no matter what I do. So that's how I handle it. The last question is from Bookish Stitchery, and they said, what's your process for washing and ironing pieces, especially with hand-dyed threads? I'm so worried I will ruin my hard work. So I can definitely relate to that. The first thing I would say is it depends on who the dyer is for your hand-dyed threads. There are a couple that I know of that do advertise their flosses as being color fast according to industry standards. And the two in particular that I'm aware of are Gentle Arts and Weeks Dye Works. Now, particularly with Gentle Arts, I have seen recommendations that before you start stitching, if you're concerned about bleeding, that you can wash your flosses beforehand and pat them dry just to remove any last little bit of residue from the dyeing process. And that, if there is any, that should take care of the problem for you. You can also wash your hand-dyed flosses in vinegar to help set the dye if there's any, again, residual dye from that process. So personally, I haven't done that and I have not had a problem, but if it's something that's really concerning, that would be what I would suggest. I will tell you that as time goes on, as much as I love Classic Colorworks, their flosses are beautiful. They're lovely to stitch with. They are not color fast. They don't advertise to be color fast. And so I tend with Classic Colorworks more and more to convert to either a color fast hand dyed or a DMC, just because for me being able to wash my pieces is important. But that's how I would approach that. When you do actually wash your piece, when you're finished with it, always wash it in cold or tepid water. Do not wash it in warm or hot water, because even color fast sometimes that will loosen up the color and you'll have a bleeding problem. So wash in cold water, use a color catcher. If you end up having any kind of a color bleed, run that through the cold water until it washes the bleed out. Because you do not want that fabric to get dry, because then the bleed will set. So keep it wet until you get it washed out. But generally I have not had a lot of problems. So hopefully that is helpful. So we'll wrap up today by just sharing with you what we're going to be working on between now and the next time we film an update. So the first thing is I am going to have a new start, which I'm super excited about. And that is Winter Rose Manor. This has been a hugely popular chart. Everybody has been working on it. So you'll see it here now too. And this one I am going to be doing as a stitch along with my friend Sarah. She is Stitch Addict on Instagram. Sarah and I, this will be our third stitch along together. We have found that we are good stitch along partners. So if you're stitching on this and would like to join our SAL, you're welcome to. If you've been wanting to start this one, you're also welcome to join us. Our hashtag is going to be Roses in Winter SAL. We would love to have you join us. I will also continue working on my recent start, Celtic Winter, which is my Fancy Lady. So I'll be working on that. We'll continue working on my Christmas cheer pin pillows, and we'll try and get some more time in on Butterfly Port Mauve. Gary's going to see what he can do about finishing up page 2 of Captain America. So I think that does it for us today. Thank you so much for coming to spend time with us. We do hope you'll give us a like. It does help us find new stitchers and new viewers with YouTube. Please feel free to comment. We really enjoy interacting with you. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and hit the little bell so you get notifications. You can follow me on Instagram at globetrotting_stitcher and email me at globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com. So take care and happy stitching. Bye-bye.